Chief Plenty Coups was born into the Mountain Crow tribe in 1848 at the cliffs that have no name, possibly near Billings, Montana, to his father Medicine Bird and his mother Otter Woman. He was given the birth name Chilapuchisalish, or Buffalo Bull facing the wind. During the first decades of Plenty Coups' life, he led the life of a Crow warrior, which involved warring with other major tribes such as the Sioux and Cheyenne over territory, hunting rights, prestige, and the other parts of the traditional warrior way of life.
Welcome to Witty Champ's viral video channel, the place where you find information about our long-forgotten history.
In accordance with tradition, as a young man his birth name was changed. His grandfather predicted that he would become chief of the Crow tribe, live a very long life, and accomplish many great deeds, thus christening him Alex Shyaosh, meaning many achievements. Plenty Coups is the English translation of his name, coming from the word coup, or act of bravery. Over the course of his life, he would live up to his name and his grandfather's prediction. Early in his life, Plenty Coups started having prophetic dreams and visions. Many seemed so far-fetched that no one believed them, but when they started coming true, his fellow tribe members began to revere him and listen to him carefully. After the death of his beloved older brother when he was 9 years old, he had a vision in which one of the little people of the Prior Mountains told him that to develop his senses and wits, and that if he used them well, he would become a chief. As he later said, "I had a will and I would use it, make it work for me, as the dwarf chief had advised. I became very happy, lying there looking up into the sky. My heart began to sing like a bird, and I went back to the village, needing no man to tell me the meaning of my dream. I took a sweat bath and rested in my father's lodge. I knew myself now." Later, when he was 11 years old, Plenty Coups, along with other young men of the Crow Nation, was challenged to have a vision which might guide his people's future. After fasting and spending several days in the crazy mountains, he had a vision in which he saw many buffalo coming out of a hole. They spread over the plains, then disappeared. Surreal buffalo with weird tails, different colors, even spots, and odd bellows then came out of the hole and covered the plains. He saw himself as an old man, living near a cold spring in the foothills of the Arrowhead Mountains. He also saw a forest. Strong winds blew down the trees in the forest until only one tree was left standing. And it was the home of the chickadee. His vision was interpreted by tribal elders to mean that the white man would take over the Native American lands and their way of life, like the wind that blew down the trees in the forest, all except one, which represented the Crow people. The Crow tribe would be spared if they could learn how to work with the white man. His spirit guide then became the chickadee, and he would carry a pair of chickadee legs and a medicine bag he used for protection and spiritual power. This vision would guide his actions, and that of the Crow people, for the remainder of his life. Plenty Coups started learning early in life the ways of an Indian warrior. Constant attacks by neighboring tribes provided many opportunities to prove his valor, and he quickly started earning coups. He spent his youth fighting and learning alongside many other young warriors, including Medicine Crow, Sacred Raven, who would also become a chief. Many times he would cover himself with a gray wolf hide, and sneak alone into an enemy camp and scout about. He would return to his fellow warriors and devise a plan of attack. They would execute the attack, and Plenty Coups would seek to touch an enemy with his true stick or take a weapon or horse, then return without being killed or captured. This was considered a greater act of bravery than actually killing an enemy. He soon gained a reputation for being fearless and cunning, like the wolf. He became a member of the elite warriors of his tribe. They would do everything backwards, in a fashion that was bizarre to onlookers, which helped create fear in hearts of their enemies because of their reputation. As a young man, Plenty Coups also gained a reputation for being a wise and eloquent speaker. He was often looked to for guidance and advice, and spoke out often during tribal councils regarding their neighboring enemies, and their interaction with the encroaching white population in their government. Plenty Coups was named a Bachiachi, good man chief, of a local group of the Mountain Crow at age 28. As a young man and chief, he was a fierce and well-respected warrior. He was thought to have between 50 to 100 feathers on his coup stick, each one representing an act of valor. Many times over, he had fulfilled the 4 requirements for becoming a chief. Later he would therefore become first the Ashbekiachi, chief of the camp, of all Mountain Crow, and later even the last traditionally elected Ashaki, owner of the lodges, chief of all chiefs, of the Crow Nation. Plenty Coups became a chief in 1876, the same year as the Battle of the Little Bighorn. 6 Crow warriors worked as scouts for General Custer at this time, and were allied with the white man in order to fight their own primary enemies during this period, the Lakota, Sioux, and Cheyenne. According to the interpretation of Plenty Coups' vision, cooperating with the white man was the only way to ensure the Crow's future survival in a white man's world. He was selected to represent the Crow in Washington, D.C., where he fought successfully against U.S. Senators' plans to abolish the Crow Nation and take away their lands. He made many trips to Washington over 10 years to protect his people. He was fairly successful in doing so, and managed to keep the Crow's original land, although it amounted to only 80% of what they originally were allotted, despite many foreigners' desire to take the land for gold prospecting and other uses. Many other Native Americans' tribes were relocated to reservations on entirely different land than where they had lived their lives. Plenty Coups told about his trip to Washington in 1880 to William Wilkes. The travel east was by fast wagon or train. It was described as a big black horse with his belly nearly touching the ground. Chief Plenty Coups was selected as the sole representative of Native Americans for the dedication of the tomb of the unknown soldier and gave a short speech in his native tongue in honor of the soldier and the occasion. He placed his war bonnet and coup stick upon the tomb, and they are preserved in a display case there. When he died in 1932 at age 84, he was considered by his people to be the last of the great chiefs. The vision he had had when he was younger had come true. He was married, his wife was Strikes the Iron, but had no children of his own. Bison were almost wholly replaced by cattle. White society and government dominated and had completely changed America. Through diplomacy, foresight and strong leadership, Plenty Coups was able to preserve the Crow Nation land, people and culture much better than most other Native American tribes. After his death, the head men of the Crow Council voted unanimously against choosing another chief. The leader of the council said, "No living man can fill Plenty Coups' place."